correct, Max.
Awesome. Do you have a presentation that you're going to be sharing your screen for, or?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. You should be able to do that.
Thank you.
Anja, do you have access to share? It looks like you should.
Yes, I do see that at the bottom. I think it should be all right.
All right, whenever you're ready, you can start.
Oh, perfect. Oh, I'm first up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn on my camera. Hello. And then I will bring up the PowerPoint momentarily. I see I accidentally duplicated myself once I added D dot to my name, so I do apologize for that.
It's all good. I think we'll be able to manage.
So there is an error that Zoom is saying that the host disabled participants screen sharing, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm duplicated and they're counting me also as a participant.
Go ahead and try it now. Sorry about that. They changed up some of the settings. It should be on
works
now.
Okay, perfect.
Really quickly, while you're getting set up, if there are any attendees who have any questions throughout the information session, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation.
All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Looks great. Let me. Perfect. All right, so I'm Andra. I am a transportation planner at District Department of Transportation. I have been part of the Open Streets team since early this January, and I've been a part of planning the Open Streets initiatives throughout the year in all the different wards. And today I'm going to briefly talk about the return of Georgia Avenue Open Streets, which was the inaugural Open Streets and the original. So same route, same times, and I'm excited to let you guys know what's going to happen for this year. So just a brief agenda. I'm going to quickly go over introductions and some background on Open Streets for anybody that isn't familiar with what the Open Streets events are. I'll cover quickly what the benefits of Open Streets are and discuss some day of event details. I'll also cover a bit of what programming can be expected for this year, especially as we've seen positive responses from different activities and different activations from our other Open Streets events that we've held this year so far. I'll also touch briefly on how you can access the event, issues with detours, and then leave plenty of time for Q&A at the end. And as it was mentioned before, you can also feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and I will also get to them at the end of the presentation. So I'm Andra. I'm working closely with Kim Baca, who is also another transportation planner, and together we manage the Open Streets program at DDOT. And as we've done in many years past, we are partnering once again with the local community organization, District Bridges. So really briefly, what Open Streets is, these are actually photos from events of this year. A lot of them actually come from the 7th Street Open Streets event that we had. And I believe I actually presented to 1B about this event as well a couple of months ago. So this is the results of how Open Streets went on 7th Street. As you can see, there was some really great turnout. Lots of fun, different activations at different intersections in downtown. So it was very much a different flavor and a different vibe. We brought some of the same beloved program that we've seen a big success in previous events, and of course, plenty of room for chalking, as you can see in the bottom right picture. So really briefly, Open Streets seeks to reimagine streets and to prioritize people over cars. So essentially, it's a reimagining of the public space, what the streets can look like, and how they can be used for a people scale once you remove cars from the picture for the day. Our events provide easy access to recreation, other health-oriented programming. We also promote local economic development by allowing businesses on the route to activate the public space right in front of their storefronts. So this year, just like we've had in 2021 and also in 2019, 3 miles of Georgia Avenue Northwest will be closed to cars and open to residents and visitors to walk, bike, roller skate, skateboard, scoot, and do anything in between, so long as it's not motorized and it's either an electric bike or smaller. There will also be a range of different programming that we are putting together at different intersections throughout the route. And everything is very family friendly and family friendly focused. So there's definitely something for everyone at these Open Streets events that people can kind of engage with and try out. And of course, we also have the economic development component. And this year, we're really driving home the opportunities for Georgia Avenue businesses to take advantage of the foot traffic and the people coming out for Open Streets and doing something right in front of their storefront. So some benefits of Open Streets, there are 4 major buckets that we look at when we put on these Open Streets events. One is very evidently, it's a health benefit. Clearing the streets of cars and having them open to people allows people to enjoy that space safely without the presence of motorized vehicles. There's an economic benefit. We've seen a lot of data that we've collected at our past Open Streets events that have shown that people do linger and check out the businesses that are on the Open Streets routes, especially those that activate and do some kind of activity in front of their storefront, and those that provide specials and just keep their door open and allow people to kind of walk in and check out what they have to offer. There are environmental benefits. So people do discover alternate modes of transportation to getting to Open Streets. We do provide different opportunities for how people can get there instead of taking the car, and we enhance the public space for the day. And then of course, there's some community benefits. You are able to rediscover your neighborhood and connect with your neighbors and discover the amenities that already exist there. So some specific details, you can see the route, again, it's the same route as you've seen in previous years. The Open Streets event on Georgia will take place again the first weekend of October. And side note, that's actually my wedding day. So I will not be present at the Georgia Avenue Open Streets, unfortunately, but it's supposed to be a really nice, really beautiful day. So the streets, the event itself will take place from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the street boundaries will be from Missouri Avenue to the north and down to Berry Place by where Howard University is. So that will be about a length of 3 miles, and people of all ages and abilities are welcome. So these are just some moments of different Open Streets. One was from Benning Road in Ward 7, and the other was at our latest Open Streets event that we had on 12th Street in the Brookland neighborhood. So some more information about Open Streets. There's no cost to attend. Everything that you find there, the activities are free. If possible, we encourage people to walk or ride to Open Streets and ditch the car for the day. Georgia Avenue will be closed to vehicular traffic from 6 a.m. to account for setup of all the programming, and then it will be closed until 5 p.m. that day. Courtesy tows will be enforced at midnight, beginning on October 1st. And the event will happen in rain or shine. So if it is a little bit trickling that day, that's totally fine. We'll still be there. Again, Open Streets is open to people of all ages and all abilities. So you are welcome to bring your whole family and rendezvous with neighbors at Open Streets. There will be water stations and free water and bathrooms provided along the route. And there will also be certain participating businesses who will also offer water stations as well as accessible bathrooms for the day of. And then, of course, there will be businesses participating in all kinds of specials and all kinds of activities, and there will be free swag at the event. So it's definitely a bunch of things happening at Georgia Avenue that people have to look forward to. Some of the expected programming. So we brought Double Dutch time and time again. They're really big hit with both the kids and the adults. We will have Double Dutch again this year. We're definitely putting an emphasis on transportation safety lessons. So there will be scooter and bike safety riding lessons for people to try out and experience. We will once again have a main stage with entertainment, music, and a closing go-go band, as that has been a defining factor of our Open Streets events. This year, since the downtown Open Streets on 7th, we're actually bringing a new program called Foam Brie. And so they are essentially, they're doing a foam party. They blow foam into the street, into a certain section, and kids are allowed to run and play and take pictures with the foam. And it's been a really big hit, especially during the summer Open Streets events when it's a bit muggy out. We'll have multiple activation zones. They'll be complete with free fitness and yoga classes, and each hour will have its own scheduled fitness class that people are welcome to just walk up to and attend. We'll do some roller skating demonstrations with one of our program providers, Rolo. He's a really talented roller skater, and he does provide beginners lessons that are complimentary for Open Streets. We'll have opportunities for live art where you can discover some local artists. We are bringing a semi-truck blind spot demonstration so people can learn about what the blind spots look like and what to be aware of when you are traveling near a semi-truck. We'll be bringing that at Open Streets this year. And then, of course, there is a bunch of other family-friendly activities, too many to name for this presentation, a dedicated kids play zone, and complimentary rest areas, to name a few. And because this is the longest and the signature event of the year for Georgia, there's definitely plenty more planned for the 3 miles of Georgia Avenue. So this is just to name a few. These are just some photos that I put together of some of our past Open Streets events, all at different parts of the District of Columbia. So we really pushed to kind of bring that to other neighborhoods and bring all of those Open Streets benefits to different people. And of course, you can bring your pets and walk your dogs on Open Streets because it is for everyone. We have one of our hula hoop vendors. She's extremely talented, and we're hoping to bring her back for Georgia Avenue as well. We have the circulator that provides bike rack demonstrations for people who are traveling with bike and how they are able to hoist that up and take it down, because a lot of people are actually not aware of how to do that. And then there's plenty of chalk and plenty of fitness classes to try out. So we do provide a get around guide that is found on the Open Streets website, and it is provided by our Go DC Go team here at DDOT. And so that will include information of how to get to Open Streets using alternate modes of transportation. So it will have information on what rail stations are accessible at Georgia Avenue Open Streets, what the bus route detours are and how you can get there via Metrobus, what cabbie stations are nearby or in the immediate vicinity for people to take to Open Streets, and of course, what scooter corrals. And we will be uploading that as soon as we can and as soon as we receive our bus reroutes from WMATA. So that will be on our website. We will update it as soon as we receive that information from WMATA, and that will include any Metro bus and any DC circulator routes that are impacted for the day of. And typically WMATA gives those to us around 2 weeks before the event. So we do follow up with them to make sure we receive that in time so that we can update that. And that's the end of my presentation. You can send any correspondence to DDOT at our listed email, openstreets@dc.gov, and we will respond within the day if there's any concerns regarding open streets in general or a specific open streets event or anything with Georgia Avenue. Feel free to reach out to us and we will get back to you. And that's it. So feel free to let me know if there are any questions and I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andra. If you could stop sharing your screen,
Yes.
that'd be great. Panelists, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to start off with a couple questions. The first one is a kind of philosophical DDOT question. And is there a sense that like the lessons learned and successes of all these open streets events will lead to more frequent road closures? I know we're doing a pilot on 18th Street in Adams Morgan, or a general mode shift that kind of shifts away from using this public space for private vehicles as opposed to individual people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. Right now, our main priority is to actually to expand open streets so that it's experienced in all the different wards. That was kind of our big priority for this year that came from the mayor's office, hence why we expanded it to bring it to all the different wards. Georgia being a staple open streets event, of course. So given the success of the event in the past, we are looking towards making it more recurring for this neighborhood. I think that question is interesting. As far as I know, these events are only, they are day-only events, and they are only to be done on Saturdays because there are some conflicting interests in making them more frequent and making them more, I guess, as a normal part of the district public space. I cannot say that might actually change in the future. I can't foresee. I know there's definitely a push towards making the closures a bit more frequent or making them a bit more emulated with what other cities are doing, what other transportation agencies are doing throughout the country. Obviously, Open Streets is actually a global initiative, and it originally started in South America, and they have done such amazing things with this initiative that they actually have like bicycle Sundays where they close busy roads for consistent Sundays in a month to let people really experience the change in that public space and being able to access different parts of the city more directly through biking and walking and jogging and whatnot. I don't see that happening here anytime soon, but that would be kind of a radical shift in trying to make that a bit more recurrent. But DC is a bit unique in the sense that we have added security issues and national security issues that we have to consider. So even closing the road down for a day has had some challenges bureaucratically and with other DC agencies. So, but that would be something to look towards the future.
Awesome. Thank you for speaking to that. And then the other question I had is, you mentioned that there are going to be some kind of like additional like coordination and like opening up of the space for businesses. I was just wondering if you had like examples of what that's going to look like. Is it going to be just limited to like outdoor seats for the day, or I don't know if there's going to be like alcohol allowed to be served? I'm just kind of curious how in what ways that is expanding.
Sure. So we are actually in discussions with, I believe, ABRA, with what that would look like for getting temporary one-day licenses, especially as it relates to open streets. We know that was something that was brought up in past events, that's something that the local businesses were looking towards in terms of participating at open streets. I know we have, I think there are 3 different types of one-day permits that businesses can look towards applying, and we are still in discussion of getting those fees particularly waived for businesses so that they are able to participate in that fashion at open streets. So it's still a work in progress. In the meantime, our community partner, District Bridges, has worked with us to create a business guide, which does include best practices and lessons learned of the past 2 events. And they have actually been with us since the beginning. So we do have that resource available for businesses to kind of help inform them as they apply for participation for this year. And that is also ongoing at this time. So we are providing that additional assistance and being able to make sure that they take advantage of the day and be able to participate in that way on the street. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Commissioner Bena?
Yeah, I have one question of my own, and then also I wanted to highlight the suggestion that's in the chat. My question first, quickly, you mentioned data from past open streets events about positive impact on businesses. And excuse me if I'm ignorant on this, is there a report somewhere with like data thus far from open streets events that you could share, or is there going to be one forthcoming, like of the overall like data that you've been collecting and that we could potentially have access to?
Yeah, there is. So our community partner, District Bridges, did put some of the data together from last year's event at Georgia Avenue. So I do have some information with that report, that final report, that I can definitely forward. And then we've also just been collecting pretty much since May has been our first calendar open streets event of the year. And we've been looking through some of our post attendee surveys, as well as our surveys regarding business participation and if there was a change in revenue, for example, as well as if people have reported discovering new businesses they weren't aware of on the given open streets route. And that's something I can also look into and provide for you guys.
Yeah, it would just be great to see a wrap up once these have kind of concluded for the year about number of people attending, survey feedback. That'd be great to see. And then I did just want to highlight in the chat, there was a suggestion. It said, could there be a WMATA bus present for folks to practice getting their bikes on and off the front racks? I've always wanted to use those, but I'm too afraid of taking too long. Would love the opportunity to practice. I will co-sign that. I am nervous every time I put my bike on there. And I think just in general, could you talk about coordination with Metro? It seems like an open streets event is something that the new Metro GM would be super supportive of. So could you speak to that?
Sure. So we have had the Transit Authority present as providing programming at our past open streets event. I don't believe they brought a bus before. The bus that we typically bring is actually for the DDOT's DC circulator. So I'm actually not entirely sure how translatable they are between the DC circulator bus, the bike rack, and the WMATA. I can look into that, but we will definitely have the DC circulator en route, and they will be doing the bike rack demonstrations to show people how to lift it up with that. That being said, I can look into our WMATA contacts to see if there's an opportunity to bring a Metro bus specifically for the very same reason, especially if they differ in design and different procedure, I suppose. So I'll definitely look into it.
They brought one last year. The last time we had one, Metro put 2 buses on either end of the avenue for that purpose. So I don't know why they wouldn't want to do it now.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. Commissioner Handerhan?
Really quick, but just want to thank you so much for the presentation. You might have mentioned this, but will you send flyers so we can make sure people are aware?
Yes.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we do have some residential and community outreach actually coming up within the week or so, and we do have all of our marketing materials. You'll start seeing the residential flyers go up and the people go out and communicate with others in the neighborhood. And I believe we are also going to start our metro ads and our bus shelter ads very soon. So things are gonna start popping up in the next couple of days or so.
That's great. Thank you. And then just a quick follow-up. You had mentioned the truck blind spot demonstration, and I was wondering if you could just share a little bit more about that. I know we've all heard a lot from some of the recent accidents. I was really pleased to hear that that's being included, and I hadn't seen that a previous one, so I would love to just hear a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. So that's actually something I pioneered when I got to DDOT. I was looking towards adding some more transportation safety programming specifically, especially since this is a DDOT hosted event in partnership with the mayor's office. So what we've done for our longer routes is that we essentially bring a semi-truck tractor, and depending on the route, an equivalent trailer as well. So there will be a semi truck parked somewhere on Georgia Avenue, and we do have freight planners who do specialize in freight transportation, and they do have a lot of information on semi truck safety and blind spot safety in particular. So we do have the actual blind spots get chalked out in the morning. So all the dimensions are kind of visualized in that way. And then people are able to come up to the semi truck to kind of inspect and engage with what those blind spot sections might look like, and how they compare to an actual semi truck. The children do like it because they can go up into the truck tractor and honk the horn. So that's been very popular at the 7th Street event and at our Benning Road event. And we do have freight planners who they volunteer for the day, and they actually take care of that program throughout the day. That will be something that will be available for the entirety of the Open Streets event. So people can kind of come up and engage with it at different hours, depending on when they are at Georgia Avenue, but that will be there.
That's great. Thank you so much. I'm thrilled.
Thank you. I saw Patrick Nelson's hand up, but we only have a minute left. Patrick, do you have a quick question?
I'm not going to ask my question. I'm not going to start a fight.
Okay. Well, with that, thank you, Andra. I appreciate your time this evening. You're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting, but you're by no means obligated to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll try to also address any of the questions and the comments in the background. So. And I'll also post our email again for people who do want to send any other questions or comments to the Open Streets team at DDOT. Thank you so much.
No problem. Patrick, feel free to send your question to me and we can start a fight offline. All right, Chair Turner, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll call our monthly meeting to order as September 1st, 2022. This is the ANC 1B monthly meeting. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Handerhan.
Present.
Commissioner Orlowski.
Present.
Commissioner Umar. Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Kinsick.
Present. Sorry.
Commissioner Floyd.
Present.
Commissioner Ewert.
Present.
Commissioner Bana.
Present.
Commissioner Turner.
Present.
Commissioner Farnan.
Present.
Commissioner Harris. Present. We have a quorum of 9 of 11.
Thank you. Commissioners, you have an agenda before you. There are three items to add. During community comments, there'll be a brief update from Director Rivers at Howard University. Under new business, Commissioner Baina has a proposal on trash and recycle public containers and a resolution to address opportunities for missed deliveries and stolen deliveries that is being experienced in many of our neighborhoods. Under the consent agenda is approval of the draft meeting minutes of the prior monthly meeting. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the consent agenda?
I move to approve the agenda with the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion passes. Thank you. Commissioner Farnan.
Thanks all. Just a quick financial report update. So this is the meeting prior to fiscal year 23 beginning in October. So we will be, well, we being me, I will be moving a continuing resolution to continue the current budget because allocations and of course population will change with redistricting next year. So I do not want to approve a budget that will have different numbers starting in January of 23. So I move right and actually before I move, I wanted to just share a quick update on what sections of disbursements we have been budgeting for and then allow for folks in the next cohort of 1B to change or to continue with this, but I just wanted to share. So we have 9 different sections: personnel, direct office cost, communication, which includes the Zoom video, flyers, event needs. 4 is office supplies, equipment, and printing. So that's printed and branded items that the Community Engagement Committee normally uses for events and things like intern flyers or something like that. Number 5 is grants. Number 6 is local transportation. Number 7 is purchase of service like admin consultants or interns. Number 8 are bank charges. And the number 9 is other, where we normally spend money in other for sponsorships, as many have brought forward that I appreciate. And I hope the future commission will also utilize. Just wanted to give that update so it's on record what we have for 22, and if future commissioners go back to this meeting and want to understand. With that, thank you for indulging me. I move to approve a continuing resolution to December of 2022, allowing for the current budget to continue, barring any future numbers coming from OANC prior to December.
There's a motion for a continuing resolution on the budget. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, I do think that we should add business cards in one of them. Yeah, might be good.
Noted. Other discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Thank you. Update on the Terrell. Public safety and community engagement. Commissioner Farnan.
Thank you. I will give time to the Howard University representative, Mr. Rivers, as I spoke with Dr. Leonard and shared I would cede my update time to him right now, if that's okay with you, Chair Turner.
Okay.
Okay, I think that Mr. Andrew Rivers is on as an attendee. We can bring him up. And then they have at least 5 to 10 minutes to share. And then I just have a town hall announcement from MPD that I will put in the chat.
Director Rivers, I am trying to promote you. You'll need to accept. There you go.
I am here.
Perfect. We can hear and see you. Thank you.
So if I can, for those who don't know me, my name is Andrew Rivers. I am the Director of University Events and Protocol. My office actually manages all of the main ceremonies, which is our convocations, both opening, charter day, and commencement. But I also oversee all of our major events as well, which includes our homecoming. So I'm hoping I can take a few minutes just to take you through what our tentative schedule is, and then also take you through some of the impacts that will have on the community as well. We haven't had a homecoming in person for several years. As you know, pre-pandemic, we were heavily and excited to be able to bring our homecoming to the community. The pandemic hit, so we've been doing quite a few events on a virtual basis, homecoming type of approach. But this year, we're very excited. We're going back to full in person, and we're looking to really provide an entertainment, a variety of events during that week, but then also culminating with some events that'll be very effective for the community in that regard. Is it possible I can share screen to kind of show you a couple of things?
You should be able to if you see a green button at the bottom.
I do. So let me.
There we go.
Awesome. So the first thing
Great.
I'm going to share with you is actually the schedule of events specifically for our homecoming week. Our homecoming week is going to start on Saturday, October the 15th, and we will be going and concluding on Sunday, October the 23rd. And a couple of the events just to quickly go through, we're going to kick off our week with a day of service. This is where our Andrew Rankin Memorial Chapel have our traditional volunteers of students, ranging from our freshmen through our seniors who go into the community and other aspects in the local DC area doing service projects. We tend to kind of coordinate, but also work with various agencies in order for our students to provide their service to the community. We just recently had one as part of the Bison Week when our freshmen arrived to campus, and we had over 850 freshmen who had a chance to do some volunteer work in our communities to start. So that really gets them an opportunity to understand the importance of not only our truth in service, but our service to our community as well. We then move into a chapel service, which we do here annually on Sunday. And then of course, we will inaugurate our Royal Court, which represents each one of our schools and colleges as well as our universities, King and Queen. We then move into our pep rally, which is on Tuesday. We have our annual Lavender Reception, which is a major fundraiser for our LGBTQ plus support. And then we move into Thursday. That's when the activities become quite interesting for our students. And that is the Student Fashion Show, which is held in Crampton Auditorium. It has always been a well-received, well-respected event. We then have the president will do a State of the University address, and this will be held in one of our main auditoriums, but we also will be live streaming this address as well. Our heaviest activities will be occurring on Friday, October the 21st, and Saturday, October the 22nd. So let me just briefly take you through. One is the Yard Fest, which is our outdoor concert held on the main yard. And this will actually go from noon until 6 p.m. We start with, of course, a significant number of vendors, both food and non-food vendors, roughly about 46 vendors on our campus that will actually be selling goods and opportunities for many individuals who will be at the Yard Fest to partake. Excuse me. Then we'll also have our HU Ideas Symposium that's kind of starting at the same time. It will be a virtual experience, but the whole key is that we want to also highlight what we call our intellectual capacity that of our graduates and those who support Howard. That Friday night, we definitely have what we call the Greek Step Show. This is those who are our fraternities that are considered the Divine Nine. These are our 9 African-American fraternities and sororities who are presenting their step show. If you ever seen this or have never seen a step show before, I would highly suggest you consider attending. We would love for you to be our guest that day, which is going to be in Bird Gym, but it really gives you a unique perspective on how footwork, stomping, dancing, stands, things of all magnitudes that they put into this performance. And it is a competition amongst those individuals. Then on Saturday, we start off our Saturday activities with a full schedule of our annual tailgate, which will be held in our Howard Center parking lot. That is actually going to begin at 10 and go until 6 p.m. We're bringing back our community parade. We haven't had it in such a long time. And so we're looking forward to be able to manage that parade along Georgia Avenue and then going into our LaJoy and Bloomingdale neighborhoods. Then Yard Fest number 2 after the parade begins. And Yard Fest 2 is really what we call our reunion day. And that is when the concert is gone, the stage is still there. So we do broadcast the actual football game on a stage because it's typically a sold out game. But this is when a lot of families and friends kind of congregate on the yard and really have an opportunity to really socialize and connect with one another. Of course, we have our annual football game, and this year we'll be playing Delaware State University Hornets. And so we've already have made a decision we're going to win that game, so we can't make that any difference. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And then that night, the president is going to be having we're planning what we call a homecoming soiree, social opportunity and party at a local venue within the DC area. We begin to conclude on Sunday, where we then again have our chapel service, our young alumni brunch, which is going to be at a local venue within the DC area. And then we have our alumni jazz brunch, which usually estimates somewhere between 425, 450 persons. That's going to be held directly on our campus of Blackburn Center. And so that kind of gives you just a synopsis. And of course, we can always share this schedule with you. Our website is actually going to be going active in the next 3 to 5 days. So we'll be listing all this information in ways that others can actually participate in that regard. I'm going to go to one more. Let me see how I can pull this up. I wanted to pull up this, which is the actual layout for the football game and actually the layout for the Yard Fest. So if you look at in the center of your picture, you'll see these 6 green circles. That is the area where the Yard Fest will be.
Mr. Rivers,
yes.
I'm sorry, I don't think we're seeing the same screen. You might have to like unshare and reshare the screen.
Okay. Can you see this now?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Commissioner.
Yeah, we'll do that. And I have one more, so I'll do the same. I'll stop share and then share. So in the center of this actual diagram is the location where a significant portion of our Yard Fest will be occurring. If you, let me see if I can bring this up a little bit closer. You'll see a lot of the kind of like dark blue spaces, more in a kind of in a rectangle shape at the lower corner. That is the actual location where all of our vendors, non-food, will be located. We're in the process now of finalizing those individuals. They will be moving in on that Friday morning with the activities of the Yard Fest beginning at noon. Then directly above to the top, if you look kind of a little bit to the top right, you'll see these little green squares. Those are our 6 to 7 food vendors that will be approved to actually sell goods and sell food during the actual Yard Fest. The Yard Fest occurs on 2 days, of course, which is Friday, the 21st, and then, of course, Saturday, the 22nd. All of this will be cleared up and removed. By Sunday, it'll appear as if nothing actually have occurred on our yard because we do have a significant amount of cleanup, but then we also have a strategic plan in terms of returning the area back to its normal state. So my next diagram that I'm going to show you is actually the parade route, which has not changed. I just need to make sure I bring up the right one. Just give me one moment, please. Can everyone see the parade route?
Not yet. I think you just might have to click share.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Let me, how about there?
Perfect.
Awesome. So our parade is actually going to occur on Saturday morning from 10, conclude by noon on October 22nd. And what we're going to do is we're going to be starting the parade right here. If you look at this red line, that's going to kind of be our significant route of the actual parade. So we're going to start directly on our main campus in front of our administration building, which is on 6th Street between Fairmont and Howard Place. The actual parade route will move from 6th Street. It'll go up to Fairmont, making a left turn on Fairmont, going to Georgia Avenue, proceed all the way down Georgia Avenue to what we call Florida Avenue. It's going to make a left turn, and then we're going to proceed to 5th Street, then proceed to P Street, and then we're going to come directly up 4th Street and concluding right in front of the quad, which is our residence hall. That's where all our elements of the parade will then disband and leave the area as well. As you know, we're working with our MPD, working with DCRA regarding all the required permitting. And so we're looking forward to being able to bring our parade back in person as well. So I'm going to stop there to see if there's any questions or interesting comments that I would love to entertain. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity to present before the council and the commissioners. And so we're just looking to bring a wonderful, entertaining opportunity to this ward.
Thank you.
Of course.
And
thank you.
I just want to say that those detailed diagrams are very helpful. I think, of course, as you said, on the site, they'll be live. I think it'll be helpful for us to share, I'm sure, Commissioner Handerhan with the LaJoy Park folks who will be going through, but then also with folks on Georgia Ave and with parking. I know in the past we did a full kind of engagement meeting on that. So perhaps Commissioner Handerhan, we could do a parking engagement discussion and make sure everyone's just aware of what streets will be directly impacted. But I think this is great. Thanks again for reaching out to come to this meeting. And we look forward to being there and supporting you throughout that whole week.
Thank you very much.
Any questions from commissioners though, as I look around? Okay.
We'll just say thrilled to welcome you to LaJoy Park. And definitely we'll make sure to share the link in the maps because there's always a lot of interest in that. So
yes, we'll definitely do that for sure. And that, one of the things that we are doing is a significant communication plan, not just for our campus, but for our community. We will also share a link to the website, which will be updated on a regular basis. Recognize all of our activities are open to the public. So if there's any that are interested in attending, please let me know. There are 2 events, which is the fashion show and the step show, which are ticketed. However, we do have some complimentary tickets available for those who would want to attend.
Awesome.
I know this is a sensitive topic and we deal with it every year, especially whenever we would see you come and discuss them at the, when we were meeting in session. When we're inviting the public onto the Howard property, we need to remind people, don't bring your animals. Sensitive topic, but if we don't say it, people may not realize.
Understandable. I think and I appreciate that comment. And the key is really using our website and our communication to almost kind of do like a checklist, your do's and don'ts. Say, we're pushing, significant issues with the importance of safety. Making sure our community folk are in a position where they can enjoy the event. So our chief of police have been working heavily with not only MPD, but Homeland Security, and also some other aspects that we're looking to make sure we implement to make it right. And I think you are correct. I think it's going to be important that we communicate not only our purpose, but our intent to make it a safe and enjoyable and inviting environment.
We have a lot of new residents who are not familiar, perhaps. And it's just good reminders for everyone.
And I hope we can partner in sharing that information when it comes down to, and I think it's providing that information early enough so it can be disseminated, but then also kind of being in a position where we can be repetitive in that information too, because what it takes, sometimes people see it, see the link and don't want to read it. But I think sometime eventually they'll say, well, I got this 3 times. I better look at this, you know.
We're carrying that message as well, because it's not Howard, but it's also churches and
yes.
And you know, don't walk on someone else's property, private property.
Correct.
So just basic courtesy.
Oh, very much so. That is, and it's extremely important. The other piece too is that we try to encourage, you know, the use of all our local businesses along those corridors. So when you look at the attractiveness of the number of people that will be in our campus vicinity, you know, from that Thursday to that Saturday, we want to make sure that everyone benefits, and you'll see that in that regard.
And use the open streets as an opportunity.
Yes, yep, that is correct.
Andrew, can I just also ask whether or not you are this year going to be using that new sign that's I believe it's, I can't even think what street it is now, that is the electric.
It is actually the right there at the corner of Howard Place.
Howard Place, right?
And Georgia Avenue.
Use that this year as an advertising tool for homecoming?
Yes. Oh, very much so. Very much so.
That was something that we had talked about years ago when they were talking about fixing the sign, but
yes. And now that the sign has been,
opportunity since there's people driving up and down.
And we're going to see, once we, you know, it's kind of, we've worked on this major marketing plan, you know, and if I'm going to give you a little inside scoop, the theme this year for homecoming is called Mecca-verse. So
I'm excited.
So it's going to have this very Marvel Comics kind of cartoonish aspect. And so when you look at all our marketing, a lot of our gear, things that we're going to be having and selling, that's going to be the significance of it. So shh, don't tell nobody.
Stays here. Anyone who's on as an attendee, you got to speak.
So if you keep it to yourself, you may get a little token or gift or something like that. But yeah, we will be using that, our electronic billboard, as a significant piece. It worked really well. If you noticed during the time when we were doing commencement, because that was the first time we brought it back in person. Unfortunately, we had to move to Burr, but we were able to announce some of our honorees. Of course, our beloved sister of Howard, Taraji Henson, was a speaker. So yes, we will be using that extensively to market.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Cool. Okay, thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate you much, and thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, bye-bye.
Great. Bye, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Leonard, if you're still on. Thank you so much. Just one last public safety update from the Public Safety Community Engagement Committee. There's a town hall meeting with the 3rd District of MPD, DC Police Department. The commander, of course, will be there, who has engaged with 1B, came to our last monthly meeting. We had, or 2 monthly meetings ago, we had a great walkthrough with him and many community outreach sergeants. And then a lot of sergeants will be at this town hall, but it will be at the 3rd District Station next Wednesday, the 7th, from 6 to 8 p.m. I believe most of us got this yellow flyer in our email, but just want to make sure anyone on the call knows about that date. I will be there. I will be a little late, but I will be there. So if anyone cannot make it and has questions, just let me know. Look forward to engaging with MPD there. And that is the final update. So thank you, Chair Turner, for that time.
Thank you. CPD, Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, there are 2 items that the commission needs to vote on. First item is project at 311 U Street, it's an RF1, it's in 1B01, which is Larry Hanrahan's SMD. It's a BZA case. And this applicant is requesting special exception from the lot occupancy and the rear yard requirements to construct a 2nd-story rear deck to the existing house. And the committee is recommending that the ANC support this request.
Mr. Lasky, Commissioner Hanrahan.
Sir, This was a project for a rear deck that was brought to the LaJoy Park Civic Association on a couple different occasions. The homeowners worked with Patrick and others to kind of make sure they were up to speed on everything, and all the questions got answered. This is pretty straightforward. It's an opportunity to keep the family in the neighborhood by adding a little bit more outdoor space. They have the support of their immediate neighbors and the civic association, so I don't think of it as particularly controversial, although we did have to make some tweaks to the original proposal. Unless there are any questions, I would motion that we accept the committee recommendation for 311 U Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes.
Thanks, Patrick.
I didn't see what Alan voted, so I'm assuming he's voting for this.
Yes,
Okay.
you can count as for or an abstention.
So the second item is 733 Euclid Street. It's an RF1 zone. It's in 1B03, which is both the EZA piece. The second half of the process from this property. So they did the HBRB piece already, and now this is BZA. So for the application is requesting special exceptions from the rear yard addition requirements, the height restriction requirements, an area variance from the height restriction. Property is now designated a historic landmark subject to HBRB restrictions. The applicant has worked closely with the HBO staff over the several months to provide a design and compatible additions which HBRB has approved. The revised plan now includes converting the tax lot into a single record lot, constructing two side additions, as well as a fourth-story addition in the rear, converting the existing non-residential building into a residential apartment building with 12 units, approximately 2,000 square feet of that, which will be set aside for exclusionary zoning units, which amounts to 2 units. And due to the existing conditions of the building and HBRB restrictions, the applicant must seek the relief requested in order to complete the project consistent with HBRB's approved set plan. So we have reviewed this and discussed it on more than one meeting, and is recommending that the ANC support the special exceptions and the area variance. I know that was a mouthful, but any questions or comments?
Thanks for your work.
This is in Commissioner Umar's district. Is there anything to add, or go with Patrick's explanation?
With Patrick's explanation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'd be happy to make the motion to
making a motion to move it,
to move forward with the ZPD committee recommendation.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention. Passes. Thank you.
Can I just ask, who said second? I didn't.
That was me, Patrick. Larry.
That was you, Larry. Okay, so that concludes the items that we need to discuss tonight, and our next meeting will be on Monday, September 19th at 6:30.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Economic Development, Commissioner Handerhan.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank Commissioner Farnan for giving this update at the last meeting when I could not join. Not a whole lot to talk about tonight. I don't see anyone from Main Streets in the attendee list, but been working with them on a couple different projects. We did not have a meeting in August. We gave the committee the month off. And so there really is not a lot of new updates to share. But I would like to flag a couple things. We're still waiting on an update from DemPed on the Reeves selection of a developer. The Grimkey Phase 2 development is in full swing and occurring. That's really focused on the African American Civil War Museum site, which is the Phase 2 part of that property. Both those projects the ANC 1B has been really involved in. At our next meeting, we're going to hear finally from the DC Housing Finance Agency, who has a property on Florida and 9th Street that they're going to share with us at our next meeting. And we also had a great presentation 2 meetings ago from Howard about a bunch of their scattered site property that if anyone's looking for further information on, they were in the minutes of the last meeting. So hope people can join us at our next meeting on September 22nd. This is a little bit different. It's actually the 4th Thursday. Normally we meet the 3rd Thursday, but it's a strange month meeting, having Thursday fall on the 1st. That's at 6:30. Again, we'll hear from the Housing Finance Agency and welcome all community members. Go ahead.
Quick question, Commissioner Handerhan. I'm going to try to make the September 22nd meeting, but if I'm not, and I'll coordinate with you offline. I'd love to just make sure we bring up the resolution that we passed at our previous ANC meeting about creating public parking for these sites as a potential strategy for increasing pedestrian safety on your street. I can provide you with the language for that, my plan is to attend, but I just want to kind of give you the heads up that I think that'd be a good place to begin that discussion, because the HFA site was one of the ones that we highlighted as a potential location for that.
Great. Thank you for that. Commissioner Harris?
I just have a quick question about the Reed Center. So I think we all received notice that we need to have ANC 1B's office, I guess, vacated by, I think it was like December 31st, 2022. Is that, do you know if that's still like the case since nothing has been decided?
Alan, were you going to jump in? You're on mute, but
you're on mute.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Handerhan.
So here's what I know. And DemPed's been, really open to me peppering them with questions on this. It has clearly been a really long time since the development team did their presentations, and I think there's general frustration about the lack of progress in the site. They are moving expediently to get all the tenants off the site so that they can proceed on as close of a development plan as they originally set out. So I do think that my understanding is that they're telling some tenants to be out as earlier than the end of the year, but that their expectation is that the tenants will all be out by the end of the calendar year. This has been a bit of a moving target though, so I'm not totally sure.
Okay, yeah, that's just good to know for us to potentially keep in mind. I think we still have like a good amount of things
yes,
in
we
there.
Do. We have boxes.
You may want to go take a look and see what we want, and
yeah.
Commissioner Farnan and I took a look, I think last year, and then quickly realized that we may need more than just 2 commissioners there
to move
taking
things
a look.
out. We would need to probably have like a DPW truck just ready to go, and we could save some things. But thanks, Commissioner Harris, for flagging that. I'm happy. I think I still have the only key, so I'm happy to coordinate and email who I need to email at Reeves to figure out that information as well.
Have you accumulated that much more stuff in there after the last time we went in and got a DPW truck and got rid of a whole bunch of stuff?
I'd say there's more branded things from when Miss Jessica Hart and I were in there doing water bottles. That was a lot of water bottles. But I did take
Let me
them.
suggest though, that brand is no longer effective. So
I agree. So DPW
So that-
truck.
whatever you leave, they will throw out.
Okay. Well,
Well,
I don't know if it's best practice though for us to just like
Yeah, I was
leave
gonna
no, I
say-
agree. I agree. But maybe
um,
the printer, I'm sorry, they can take care of that.
I would support having some sort of Saturday morning where we go down there and kind of inventory what we have, because there may be things that we can donate to community partners. Water bottles
Great
sound
point.
like
Yeah.
even though the brand is different and the ANCs are changing, there are things that we can donate to local community partners.
You
Right.
can
Strongly
donate
support
things that we bought as
multiple.
swag, but you can't donate furniture and equipment.
Mm-hmm.
But I would strongly support multiple commissioners, not just me, even though I live right across the street from the Reeves Center, or Commissioner Handerhan if we, I think we're the ones transitioning over. So please,
Yep.
multiple commissioners.
I support Commissioner Boehner Heppel.
I'm good at manual labor, don't worry.
Sorry about the background. Mayor music. I also say that both Commissioner Thomas and I are and want to be involved with the Reeves transfer. It's a lot going on, a lot of people asking questions. It's kind of a heartache because that was the center for all business for a while in the Northwest District. And I think that makes sense. It's a beautiful building. But as we transition, we should be very delicate to the people around us, our actual constituents, and people that love us and want to see what's going on for a right reason. Not more homes, not more rental homes, maybe affordable homes. Thank you.
Okay.
And I
Commissioner
did just,
Handerhan-
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I just dropped a kind of written update in the chat. It's been the same, it's been for a long time, but that is the update from DemPed, which goes into a little more detail about the relocation. Doesn't mention ANC offices, but just to give folks some more character, and I'm happy to talk offline to anyone.
Okay. Sorry, I just have one last question on the, just want to make sure I said this for everyone attending here now. I also plan to attend your ZPD this month with Max and talk about the resolution and kind of flesh out what we passed on specifically parking and understanding our community partners who are in the area right now, who utilize the parking as it is right now, and how, if changes are proposed, and of course with DCHFA, what their changes will be, and then how we can all be on the same page moving forward. So I'll be attending in the realm of that, but look forward to working with you, Commissioner Ewert and Handerhan. Thanks.
Not ZPD, it's economic development. I don't have anything to do with
My
it.
bad. I'm just so excited about ZPD, Patrick. But thank you.
Okay, let's move to ABR.
All right.
Okay.
Wait, did we skip
Did
transportation?
I jump transportation? Did I just run right over that? Transportation.
Thank you, and sorry for interrupting there, Commissioner Bana. So we have two items to review from the Transportation Committee. They are, the first is an NOI, Notice of Intent number 22-224 for the installation of the 9th Street Northwest two-way bike lane. This is in Commissioner Orlasky's district. DDOT has come to us multiple times to talk about the 9th Street bike lane. We've given them feedback a couple times, and also I believe this project has been going through different levels of community engagement since 2017. So we're on year 5 of this project, and after the NOI period is done, which is on September 22nd, DDOT will begin installation of the project, which is exciting because this is a long time coming. The Transportation Committee reviewed and we've drafted a letter of support to install the two-way bike lane with the addition to explore opportunities for intersection paintings for the purpose of calming traffic. This is something that community members raised as a potential addition to the project, and I think it's worth DDOT exploring to see if it has evidentiary support that this is something that can be to calm traffic. Commissioner Orlowski, I see you raising your hand. If you want to chime in, you're welcome to.
No, you pretty much covered it. I'm just happy to see that it's finally going in.
Awesome. With that said, I would make a motion that the full ANC support the letter to be submitted to the project planner.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes.
Alrighty, and the second item on the agenda is fairly unique. This is a school parking zone request by the Cardozo Education Campus employees, so teachers and administrative staff, as well as other employees that work there. Essentially, DDOT has this program where employees can request kind of like temporary RPP zone parking for the immediate area around the relevant schools, in this case, Cardozo Education Campus. The kind of like benchmark in order to request this is quite high. The teachers and staff have to go through a parking study looking at alternatives to vehicular traffic, identifying which ways that can work, what ways don't work for them. They presented this at the last Transportation Committee meeting. Commissioner Baina was there, and we have decided they were asking for our ANC support for this. From my understanding, the full ANC support is not required. However, I do want to just provide backup to the individual commissioners who have voiced their support for this. We believe that this is something that will just make the lives of teachers and school staff easier in a time that this is desperately needed. Schools across the country are understaffed, and that is no different here in DC. So I have drafted a letter that we can send to DDOT just saying that the full ANC supports this. However, I do encourage Commissioner Baina, Commissioner Floyd, and Commissioner Thomas to follow up with the DDOT staff member to just echo your support as well. I will move forward with making the motion that the full ANC support the teacher's request for a school parking zone around Cardozo Education Campus.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah.
Max, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't remember it being called a zone. It was just issuing of parking passes. Was that in the actual draft that she showed us?
I think it was in follow-up letters that I got from DDOT, but I can confirm that.
So we talked about it in the meeting, and maybe I'm misunderstanding. They were talking about getting the actual passes and who would be issued them and how they would get them.
Yeah, so it's referred to as a parking zone permit from the DDOT staff.
So I want to clarify, because I have already communicated my support to DDOT. I initially, when this was proposed over a year ago, when really it was grassroots coming from teachers themselves, I wasn't fully on board with this, but all this is allowing DDOT to issue essentially special permits for Cardozo employees to park in the residential parking zones and 2-hour parking zones immediately surrounding Cardozo. So essentially, it's not taking away any parking. It's not creating a new teacher-only parking area. But what it's doing is essentially giving some flexibility to teachers who, after this study that they did, the majority of them drive to Cardozo. And even though there is public transit around, even though, but teachers come in at early hours, they're carrying books, they're carrying papers, and not all of the teachers live in the district. They don't all necessarily live close. There is a parking lot at Cardozo, but it can't accommodate everybody. And so right now, if we're frank, many teachers are parking in these residential zones, but doing so at the risk of a parking ticket. And so it's only in this first year going to be 27 spots, 27, not spots, excuse me, 27 permits. So 27 potential teachers parking. And let's keep in mind the hours, it's mostly 8 to 3, these teachers. So residents have already left for work, or if they're not leaving, they're not competing for those spots when they come back from work. So I think it's a good program. It's going to be the first DCPS school to do this. And each year, the number of permits goes down by attrition, basically. They issue less each year with the thought that at the same time, they're promoting more non-car options. They just installed a bike share station directly next to Cardozo. There's going to be various, literature and programs and things of that nature. So that's why I support it.
And just really quickly to add on to what Commissioner Vena said, it's going to start at 27, and each subsequent year will reduce in the number of permits that are active. So the idea is to create this, relieve some of the stress, and then slowly wean them off of it over time. Commissioner Handerhan.
I support this. I also had some kind of initial concerns that I didn't understand exactly how it worked. I also was contacted by Cleveland Elementary School about 2 weeks ago for they're a little behind Cardozo, I think, as far as getting a response, submitting their plan and getting a response from the city. I did review their plan, and I don't know that it's like the highest threshold, but I think I just am kind of wondering, like, is this something the commission thinks we should consider for all schools in the district that are facing a parking crunch? I won't go into the details, but Cleveland is suffering from a confluence of really significant challenges around parking, and it feels like a special exception that I supported, with my own personal appeal, but I didn't think to bring it to the committee or to the full commission. So just curious if we can maybe talk offline about the right approach for that.
Yeah, I think that's a huge concern. This is potentially precedent setting, and I don't know if I am personally comfortable with setting a precedent that encourages increased car use. One thing that I did include in the letter is language saying that the city and DCPS need to explore options to make it easier for people who live, for teachers and employees to live closer to the schools that they work at. As part of the study, they identified that over 50% of the people live like more than 10 miles away from the school. And that's not sustainable by any means. The city is willing to throw out tons of cash to bring on police officers, but they're not willing to do that same thing for teachers. And personally, I find that to be bullshit. And I want the city, and I think we should urge the city to explore these options for teachers as well, so that this doesn't become as much of a burden. But it's a good question. I think we'd be willing to discuss it. I don't want to say anything without looking at the numbers exactly, Commissioner Handerhan, but it's a really good question, and I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's move to a vote. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion passes.
The next meeting will be Wednesday, September 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. ABR Commissioner Bana?
Okay, so we have a few things that the committee passed in terms of motions that need action from the full ANC. I do just want to say right off the bat, though, that we are entering renewal season for all of the CT, that's the Class C tavern licenses. I believe just in this week, I've received close to 10 placards into our emails. So just heads up to commissioners that if you have a tavern in your SMD, the next September, October, November, December ABR committee meetings are going to be jam-packed. So please keep an eye out for emails from me. We need to be judicious in what sorts of, we need to be judicious and strategic about how we, bring these before our committee and approach settlement agreements, et cetera. More on that later. But first things first, there was a new application for Howard Liquor at 2624 Georgia Avenue. That's in Commissioner Umar's district, 1B03. Was application for a retailer's Class A liquor store. That has subsequently been replacarded and renamed A and W Liquor Store. We received a letter, our committee received a letter from Howard University that was not comfortable with having a liquor store named Howard Liquor directly across from Howard's campus. Kind of a poor choice on behalf of the establishment. They came before our committee. They're open to a name change. They have already filed a name change with Abra. I think that's eased some of Howard's concerns, but we've heard concerns from other neighbors just about the fact that there's a liquor store directly across from university. They are open to a settlement agreement. They already have, shorter hours, and they're open to potentially shorter hours. I think on the license, it ends at 11 p.m. sales, and they've expressed interest in harmonizing with Gallagher Liquor Store, which is on U Street. They're going for a high-end liquor store. So we are going to basically, the committee did a motion to protest so we can do that settlement agreement. And the motion passed. So basically, if we approve it tonight, Commissioner Umar, I'll work with you and with the liquor store to hash out the terms of that settlement agreement to make sure that it's something the community can accept. Does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, so I'll just go ahead and make the motion. I motion that the full ANC accept the ABR committee recommendation to protest liquor license application of Howard Liquor, aka A&W Liquor, based on peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Commissioner Kessler's video has been shut off. I don't know why. Let's get this going. Come on, Commissioner Harris.
All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion passes.
Okay, moving on. We have a application for a new license, a Class C tavern license. This is an establishment called Pop at 2106 Vermont Avenue in 1B02, Commissioner Orlaski's district. It's a Class C tavern license with an entertainment endorsement. The establishment has appeared before our committee twice now. They have what appears to be a really good concept, and they listened to concerns from the committee, and they've done some community outreach. However, the committee did decide to protest just so that we could pursue the standard settlement agreement with them that we've been pursuing with other new establishments, new CTs in the ANC. And the applicant is very open to doing that and has made contact with Commissioner Orlaski to begin those discussions. So Dan, did you have any other comments on this one?
No, nothing specific. This is the former Duffy space that was renovated into condos with a retail segment on the bottom. And most people who know me knows that nothing can replace Duffy's in my heart, but I hope that they can try to fill those shoes. But they seem like really good people, and they have a pretty good model and a really novel idea for the neighborhood. So I think it'll be a good addition. I did hear from them. I haven't gotten the settlement agreement done with them yet, but I'm sure we will.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Lasky. And I'll also note that the landlord of the establishment is also the landlord of the condos and handles all the trash. So with that harmonization, there's at ease some concerns about noise and trash. So I'll go ahead and make the motion. I motion that the full ANC accept the ABR committee recommendation and protest the liquor license application of POP based on peace, order, quiet, and all applicable grounds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Friendly amendment.
I'm sorry, someone has disabled my access. I think it's either Sable or obviously Farnan. Can I be able to share my screen, please?
Sure.
We can discuss that during the admin settings. I would hope that all commissioners and even our other panelists hold themselves to a higher decorum on a official ANC meeting. So I will be turning your camera back on.
You can hold anyone to accountable. We're all the same. Let's start the video and stop being pretentious, please, Commissioner.
Well, Commissioner Kensick, you're taking this meeting from who knows where, and you're making faces during this whole meeting. So you're not acting in a professional manner. So please try and do that for the rest of this meeting. We were about to take a vote.
I just had a friendly amendment. I wanted to just add that to the protest pending settlement agreement discussions, just because I don't want it to seem like it's a symbolic thing, but we're doing this to preserve our ability, our leverage, not really because we have a problem with them.
Of course. I accept the friendly amendment.
All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Ellen, is your hand up? Nay. Abstentions? Passes. Thank you. Next item.
Next up, we have a need to approve a settlement agreement. So Stop Smackin' at 1839 7th Street Northwest, 1B01, Larry Handerhan's district. We protested them just because, kind of keeping with the theme that we're trying to get all of the new establishments on the same settlement agreement. And this establishment kind of came right at the beginning of the ANC term, and we did not do one with them. They were very amenable to the community agreement and have signed one. It's the exact template agreement. So we just want to approve that tonight so that we can put Chair Turner can sign it and we can submit it to Abra. So I will make a motion that the ANC approve the settlement agreement of Stop Smackin'.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Nothing more to add, but just want to thank Commissioner Bena for kind of getting us to a place where we're putting settlement agreements on the books with establishments as just kind of a community agreement. There were noise issues at this establishment when they first got a stipulated license. They have since corrected them, so happy to support them and have them in the neighborhood.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Passes.
Okay, next up, we have another settlement agreement. Whitlow's at 2014 9th Street Northwest in 1B02, Commissioner Orlasky's district. This is an establishment that had existed in Arlington for many, many years, has just purchased and gotten the transfer of liquor license from what was formerly Gaslight Tavern and Echo Park. The previous settlement agreement they had pretty severely limited their capacity below what their certificate of occupancy stated, and also prohibited them from having a dance floor. Those were their, excuse me?
Just my bad, you froze on my end, but I'm okay now.
Oh, sorry. Essentially, they wanted to renegotiate their settlement agreement and didn't want to wait for the renewal of the license they just purchased because they wanted to open sooner. They sat down with Commissioner Orlowski and hashed out an agreement, easing some of their concerns, but still incorporating the concerns of the committee related to any potential impact that the changes might have. So, Commissioner Orlowski, do you have anything to add on that?
No, nothing to add. They were very cooperative, long-standing business owners, and I'm happy to have them in the neighborhood.
Great.
And formerly, they were like a DC establishment, moved
Yeah, they were originally
out of DC and now coming back. So just noting for extra.
And it's also, they're filling in another place that was already a bar. So it's not like we're adding anything new. We're just, it was an existing establishment with a different name, and now it's going to be Whitlow's.
So I will motion that the ANC approve the settlement agreement for Whitlow's.
Is there a second? We have a second. Discussion? All those in favor, aye. Opposed? Abstention? Thank you.
Okay, so the last item on the agenda, I will admit to folks, it is not a fully baked idea, but so I ask your patience and you're willing to discuss and hash out this motion while we're all here together. So basically, U Street and ANC 1B has one of the most concentrated, if not the most concentrated in the city, stretches of ABRA licensed establishments, be that bars, be that restaurants. We've just made it through the restaurant renewal period, and we as a committee were stretched pretty thin. Commissioner Orlowski was simultaneously managing 4 different protests and settlement agreement negotiations, 4 or 5 at a time. Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Handahan all had ones coming for us. I just this week had to go and hop on a protest hearing, a status hearing. So there's a lot that has already come before us, and even more on its way. And there is strong community feedback and strong, desire from many pockets of the community, particularly around U Street, to professionalize some of the ABRA matters of our ANC. I've worked hard with the committee to get organized and professionalize our processes and our settlement agreements, but we do need a bit more help, or rather, I would like us to have the resources available to obtain more help if it's needed. That being the legal services to assist us in ABRA proceedings. So folks might not know that essentially the majority of establishments that come before the ANC have legal representation. The ANC generally does not. And so we are kind of acting as impromptu lawyers, drafting settlement agreements and attending hearings. And so I have poked around and talked to a few different attorneys of, kind of what sorts of agreements or what sorts of arrangements we could have with them, how much it would cost. Essentially, for some drafting services, working on settlement agreements, that would cost for some sort of retainer that they would bill upon would cost in the neighborhood of $5,000. If we needed them to represent us at a hearing, that would be in the neighborhood of $10,000 to $12,000. That's a lot of money, I realize. However, we are feeling the community feedback that it's wanted, and also we as unpaid volunteer commissioners devote our own time. I took off work to go to participate on this hearing this week. So it's trade-offs, and I'll stop ranting, but I did just want to highlight, Commissioner Farnan gave us a great overview of the different 9 buckets in our budget. She mentioned the one bucket that is purchase of services, and mentioned that we historically have used that for an office admin and for interns. Just want to highlight that we were unable to replace and fill the wonderful shoes of our admin, Amanda Farnan, before she became Commissioner Farnan, and we were unable to fill our paid internship positions. So in that bucket, I imagine that we have some funds left over that we wouldn't ordinarily have. Not to mention, we likely haven't used as much office supplies and things of that nature during the pandemic. So that was a long roundabout way of saying I want to make a motion tonight to allow or authorize $15,000 of our budget to be used towards these future legal services. Chair Turner gave me a good potential motion to make, and I'm happy to use that one, Chair Turner. I don't fully understand every piece of it, and it's a bit long, but I'm happy to just hear a discussion from commissioners as to the best way to approach this, because I would like us to have some resources, not necessarily that we're spending that money now, but that if we run into a particularly thorny protest, we have some backup. I'll stop.
To jump in first, and then we'll go in order across. I do agree in principle with what you're trying to accomplish. We've tried to do that in prior years and failed. And I do want to support you on this. Right now, it just seems a little too squishy to authorize funds for without having it fully defined of what we're trying to do and what the parameters are. In fact, that's what we had before, because there was one commissioner that wanted an attorney to handle all aspects of all ABRA claims, all settlement agreement negotiations, all meetings with ABRA, which was going to be tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So I think there is a need for a review of the administrative. I'm going to put them in 2 buckets. The settlement agreements, modularizing them, modernizing them for commercial, non-commercial, different types of licenses. So there you just pull different languages as you start to assemble a settlement agreement. So we have standard languages there. We do need to make sure that it's all consistent with our bylaws and procedures. So that needs to be done as well. Those haven't been reviewed in a while. In terms of representation at meetings, the very specific ones there, and admin is a more appropriate salary range to attend roll call and some of the ABRA meetings, but the commissioner's responsibility cannot be taken away here and delegated to an admin or to an attorney. The commission and the commissioner does have a responsibility to see this through. When we use an attorney for a protest, I would say it's after the commissioner and the commission has not been able to come to an agreement after mediation.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I suggest that we take time and develop the procedures and the funding for it. I suspect that 15,000 is underfunding it. It needs to be somewhere in the 25, 30, 35, maybe even 50, depending on how we build it out as a potential range. But we need to put some small group together with more, to give it more thought and concentrate on it and come back with proposals, both for the admin side and for the individual event representation.
Yeah, forgive me, I didn't mean to suggest that we'd be outsourcing any of this completely. I just want it more for assistance in the case that we can't come to those agreements and on our own. So, I mean, I'm happy to, I want to hear what everyone has to say, but I am happy to come back and do this on the October meeting if when it's more fully baked. But I also am happy to, if folks are willing to indulge, authorizing the money and saying that the executive committee will come up with a process that would kind of get the ball rolling. You know, I appreciate the concerns about it not being enough, and I feel like we could always come back for more if we start small. But yeah, I'd love to hear from everybody. So why don't we start with Sable?
Yeah, I think when this was kind of first talked about on the ABR committee meetings, I was generally in favor of it. I think, though, Chair Turner does bring up a good point in establishing at least some parameters around, you know, what we're asking for, who we would be soliciting for those things. So I think we just need to establish that. And I think the other thing is the ultimate goal. You know, I struggle with, I was in favor with some of the trying to talk about settlement agreements and trying to, I guess, fortify those, but settlement agreements are already legally binding, that it doesn't seem like it's an issue with our template. It seems like it's more of an enforcement issue with ABRA, and that's not something that we can hire an attorney to figure out. So I would just want to go back and look at, okay, these are our parameters. This is, you know, what we're seeking, and then also convey that to some of the community members who are strongly in favor that we use funds for this. And I also want to make sure we get very, very clear on the budget, because this could suck out a lot of money.
Thank you.
It's my turn.
Yeah, go for it.
So I've been doing these for a while, and as Commissioner Baina mentioned, I'm often juggling several protests at a time. That just happens to be the nature of the part of the ANC that I represent. That being said, whenever I go into these protests, I'm at a distinct disadvantage because I'm a lawyer myself, but I'm not a lawyer who specializes in this. I also have a day job, and this is their full-time job. So it makes it very difficult to have the resources to put forth a really effective case and argument when these things do go to protest hearings. And what I'm finding is they almost always are these days. There used to be an incentive for businesses to come to an agreement with us, but they seem to not think that anymore, at least not around here. I think that we're coming up at a very busy time. We're about to do all of the CT license renewals. That is a very, very large task. And I think that to come up with a scope of work for legal services that involves just help with protest hearings is certainly doable, and would probably, I mean, it could get expensive, I'm sure. And I think maybe 15 might be on the low side. But I think if we're careful about how we use it, we can stay under that amount. But I do think that it's going to become an emergency sooner rather than later. And I think that, I don't know that kicking the can down the road to October is going to work, because it does take time to, solicit firms, come to an agreement on scope of work, sign a retainer, all that sort of thing. And those attorneys will need time to get up to speed also. So I think that while I understand everybody's concerns, and I also share them, that we have to be careful about how we use this money and what our scope of work will be. I think that allocating money to it now is not a bad idea, because we're going to run out of time very quickly.
Yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, I'm admittedly behind the 8 ball. I should have started this process a bit sooner. But it kind of grew naturally in terms of the amount of community desire for this. So yeah. Alan, I believe you had your hand up next.
Okay. Commissioner Kenstick, do you want to come off mute and make a comment or no? Okay, I'm going to move on with my comment. Commissioner Reyna, I just wanted to speak from the point of view of the treasurer who has purview over what funds we have available. And I think that supporting Commissioner Orlasky and your comments, I would have a very different view if we did not have the amount of funds that we do. And I think we are able to afford this because of the diligence and honestly on time information from back to when Commissioner Bristol was managing our accounts. This has been like 3 years of savings, and you are correct that we have saved in the last year of no admin costs. To be just totally candid and share, we spent $22,000 on admin costs over the course of 3 years. So if we're looking at 15,000 approval, I would absolutely support that with an amendment of the scope being voted on and presented from the executive committee before funds are spent. So I think that provides some parameters for folks who may be a little uncomfortable with that number. At least we have the funds approved and you're able to go out to people with this number in mind, then coming back to the executive committee and of course coming back to the full commission as well. So just wanted to put that out there as a compromise.
Great.
Commissioner Hander.
I can be really quick. I think my comments mostly echo what other folks have said. I think this is an issue that impacts certain commissioners a lot more than others, and it is only going to get worse. And I would support a proposal in which we authorize a ballpark figure or even a range and ask the executive committee to come back and fill in some of the details that I don't think we have yet, but I think the need is definitely there.
May I just ask a clarifying question? Apologies, I had to step away, so I missed some of it. But for the 15K, is this just the potential like estimate, or was this is just a potential estimate?
Yeah, I mean, I was quoted that's about how much it would cost, and so I think it's the type of thing where we would authorize the amount of money and then come up with a scope with the attorney, and then as we use the services build down that funding, because it's not on every case we will need this, right? And so
I just will share, Commissioner Bain and Commissioner Harris, you may have missed him describing the like different pots of funding. It would be 1,000 or 2,000 on retainer, 2,000 for actual just deliberation and use. And then he was quoted, I think 13 to 15 to 20K if we actually use the attorney in the hearings.
Correct. Yeah.
So there's those different
buckets. I mean, I think, I don't know, I am struggling with it a bit. I don't want that to go against like any of like the work or minimize any of the work that you've done, because I think it's really valuable. Commissioner Baina and I really appreciate it. And I know we are going to have a very busy season with the renewals that are coming up. I know we also have a good amount of money saved. I just don't think it's a good use of funds versus like trying to open up more grants. And I think it was really unfortunate. We really did need an admin. It just was unfortunate with timing that we couldn't find one, which is why we saved money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that point of view. And it's very possible we don't actually spend any of this money. I guess I just want to have the flexibility to have it and not have to wait until the following ANC meeting to get it approved.
Yeah.
You know,
And yeah, no,
also
that
add
makes
that-
sense. I also, I want to reiterate this, like, I know you said this and Chair Turner said this, like, this does not mean that commissioners can like back out of their responsibilities of showing up for hearings. Like, I know Commissioner Olaski, you and I have the bulk of them. You've had a lot of them, but like, this is where we do, like, commissioners online do need to show up and be present. Otherwise, like, I mean, we can't just rely on an attorney for this. This is not why like people elected us.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that's also part of the scope. You know, their job would not be to go to status hearings and roll call hearings. It would be to actually conduct protest hearings.
yeah, I envision
Negotiating with a represented party, because they are represented. They have lawyers themselves. So, you know,
yeah, and Sable, sorry, the way that I envision this to underscore what Dan just said is like, I think we would be billing funds to this lawyer to use them for reviewing settlement agreements, reviewing documents, all that. Like, they would not go in front of ABRA unless it made it all the way to a protest hearing. And
the other thing
really,
is they will meet it every 3 years.
Well, I don't see them doing review of settlement agreements.
I mean, they
But coming up
literally
with updated templates that we would use and the modules that we would use.
So, James, with all due respect, you keep talking about modular templates, and you've not necessarily been at the table at these ABR committee meetings. A modular template is great, but every settlement agreement has to be tweaked and tailored to the unique circumstances of the agreement. It's not as plug and play as you make it seem. And so we need, what some of this funding would do is allow us to have a lawyer sit down and look at the settlement agreement and draft and make updates to it. And that's what I was quoted, that there would be assistance with drafting these things and looking at them. And so I think that that's a valuable, and in particular, like one of them that I reached out to, they also do work for, you know, bar and restaurant establishments. So this is someone who understands the other side of it as to, you know, what would be a good language.
In all due respect, I know that you have 2 years experience with this, but I've dealt with this for almost 10 years now and did many of the settlement agreements. In fact, many of the more contentious one, except for Commissioner Handerhan.
Where were you on that one, James? Come on.
Sometimes you can't use the template, but those to be few and far between. So I do respectfully disagree with you there. And by the way, with the motion, just to clarify, the motion and the amendment appropriates money in the budget, but does not authorize use of the budget money.
Commissioner Turner, I agree with you. And I think that, just to share my point of view, that the appropriation would be appropriate tonight to allow Commissioner Bana to get these proposals, understand what type of budget he would be approved, and then allow the disbursement. But
right, it's an appropriation, not an authorization.
Commissioner Bana, is there also a potential for them to share, I don't know if they're able to share the establishments that they've worked on settlement agreements for, or an example? Because again, I worry that like settlement agreements are legally binding. Like, yes, we all know that sometimes they don't work out, but like, that's not really on, I don't know if it's on the settlement agreement, if it's more so on ABRA not following through on enforcement. So we can have like the strongest settlement agreement, but if ABRA isn't going to enforce it, then it doesn't really matter.
I agree with you. ABRA enforcement is an issue, but part of the expertise that I'm looking for is people that can write language that ABRA will not strike, and that will enable ABRA to enforce, as opposed to writing something that ABRA's hands are tied, if that makes sense. And to answer your earlier question, one of the folks that I talked to was very transparent in that he said, I've represented XYZ type of business, and I won't represent you if you're going up against a sports betting business, for example, because they have those types of clients. And so, I think that based on their professional ethics, they have to be transparent and wary of conflicts of interest. So,
No, I'm just wondering in terms of like looking at the relationship that the establishment has with the community and with the establishment based on, that settlement agreement or what was put through. Not that we're going to copy it. I just was wondering for like example purposes of any sort of like context to show like, oh, okay, this could be really beneficial. But that's why I was asking.
Yeah. So I think we've had a really good discussion. I don't want to belabor the point all night. I think folks can vote how they want to vote. I think I've made an impassioned plea. I will not be personally wounded if people vote against this proposal, but I do feel the need to carry the water of the ABR committee members and some folks around there. So around the East Street area who really feel passionate about this. So I'm going to make a motion to appropriate, since my initial 15 was too low, I'm going to say a motion to appropriate $20,000 towards the retention of future ABRA legal services, pending work by myself.
Well, just a second. We have a motion and a second and an amendment.
There was no initial motion.
There was no initial motion made.
You make the motion to 15?
I'm making the motion right now. No motion was made. As I was saying, I motion to appropriate $20,000 towards the future retention of legal services for ABRA matters, pending review of a scope of work by myself and the executive committee, in order to secure a future authorization to spend the funding.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I'd just like to be on record on that I support any opportunity to process or to establish processes from the executive committee prior to authorization, but I am supporting the appropriation tonight.
Other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those against? All those abstentions? Abstains? Motion passes.
Thank you all for bearing with me. And I know that sometimes it's hard to hash all these details out in a commission meeting like this, but I appreciate you going through the sausage making of legislating, as the metaphor goes. I'll wrap up just by saying our next meeting is on the third Wednesday of the month, as it typically is, which this month is September 21st. We are also going to have, in addition to a packed agenda of placards of CT renewals, in our infinite wisdom, we have also scheduled Director Musali of ABRA to be a guest speaker and answer questions about ABRA enforcement. Maybe we can get some answers to Sable's concerns from earlier from Director Musali. So inviting the community to our future meeting. And please, 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 if you haven't been using, go to our ABR committee website. If you have feedback about a bar or a restaurant or other ABRA licensed establishment in your neighborhood, please let us know about it. We only can act on information that we have. So thank you, everybody. And you haven't heard the last of me because I have something in new business. So thanks.
Thank you. We have a in-person meeting scheduled for October. I believe we have DPR scheduled to attend. The council member will be attending the meeting in November, which will be a virtual meeting. The secretary will give notification of location, time, and requirements for participation in the in-person meeting. as you know, elections are coming up in November. There are candidates for most of the ANC positions, and there are candidates for write-in. I know that there was one district in 1B that she did not get all of her signatures in time and will be as a write-in candidate. So we do know that there's going to be some write-ins as well as some contested and a large number of uncontested races. So do encourage people. This is a year where there is traditionally a very, very low turnout in the district compared to the presidential election year. It's why this year is the primary gets more attention usually than the general. So do encourage people to vote, early vote, vote by mail. Commissioner Harris, you have a comment for Edna.
Yes, I just would like to reiterate to commissioners that this is a official government meeting, and to encourage you to, you know, try to take the meeting in a quiet space. If possible, I live in a lofted space, so oftentimes you may see or hear my fiance. But I would also stress that because this is an official government meeting, that we all treat each other respectfully and treat our office respectfully, and that we hold, again, that level of decorum, because that's really important. There are, you know, right now, there are commissioners who, you know, who need to take the call traveling. I get it. But in other cases of, you know, waving your hands around, drinking at establishments, waving, you know, business cards, that's not okay. And as the secretary of the commission, I just wanted to remind you all of that conduct that you need to hold yourself to during this meeting.
I agree. And I'd like to say that I don't appreciate Sable Harris, who lost the council member seat. Sorry, Sable.
Commissioner Kensick, I think that we need to stop right here. I think we will mute you if you do not.
I resent that. I am here for the people. I don't do this for money. I do this out of respect for my individuals. I think that both Harris and Farnan have too much time on their hands, and for them to have to go through this, I find it
Commissioner, I think that we need to treat each other with respect. I would like you.
It's inappropriate. I think it's very inappropriate.
Okay, let's
your
move on.
comments are very inappropriate, and I will be muting you.
Right, you've made your comments, you made your statements. Let's move to.
Real quick, I have just one request for the October meeting. I would really appreciate it if we could take a rapid test before it. I'm getting married next month, and if one of you assholes give me COVID, I will haunt you. So yeah, thank you.
For that request is of commissioners?
For commissioners and attendees as well. I would appreciate it if attendees did it as well. But,
We can't make that requirement, so we can only suggest.
yeah, I would suggest that you all take a rapid test beforehand.
I mean, can we also just in our communications about this meeting, because we are going to have to communicate that it's our first in-person meeting in years, that we recommend masking.
It'll be recommended.
Yeah.
Yes.
But masking as well as the rapid test, because there's no mask requirement.
Yeah,
and the masks
can
work.
certainly
We
have
will
that
be
in our-
separating with 1 chair distance between. I think that's about the best we can do in distancing.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Any safety protocols that we can voluntarily do, I would be happy if people.
I have checked and have another request in to see what our limits are. Let's now go to Gerard. Are you on? I think I saw you earlier. Okay, I believe he's in an event. Kevin? Is Kevin on?
Hi, everyone. Council is still on summer recess, so I don't have any updates at the moment. As Chair Turner said, the council member will be in attendance at your ANC meeting in October, and so I'll work with you regarding just figuring out what y'all want her to talk about. But on my end, nothing so far from council. Thank you.
Kevin, I thought you said she couldn't in October.
Sorry, did I say October? I meant November.
Hey guys, I'm sorry.
Okay, Kevin, are you done with the council member update?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Gerard, I know you're an event. Let's give you a quick time.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm staffing the mayor right now, so I'm gonna be brief, but I do have a couple of updates for you guys. I do want to update that the 600 block of T Street, by the 8th, they're going to clean everything up right there. I know a lot of people want to hear that information. I just found it out yesterday, though, guys. So what I want to do is kind of individually talk with every commissioner just so they can have a background information on what's going on there. But by the 8th of September, they will have the 600 block of 7th and T cleaned up, no encampments. They're going to be doing good. I wanted to bring that highlight to the meeting tonight. As well as want to talk about the HPAP. The mayor has now increased the HPAP from 80,000 to 202,000 for certain residents that might be available for that. I swear, I'm so sorry. I'm new to the job, but I am trying to bring you guys new developments that can kind of help your constituents and your SMDs. Anything. I need to get more one-on-ones with each commissioner, and I want to get there, but it's a lot. Onboarding, it's been a lot, but I'm here to do the job. And again, if there's anything else that you guys need update-wise, feel free to reach out to me by phone or email. I'm always available.
Can I ask one question about the cleanup on the 600 block of T? Do you know,
Yes.
have signs been posted? Like
They do
okay.
have a sign posted right now. I can shoot that sign to you guys. The wordage on the sign is kind of, it's off. I shot an email to Jamal today earlier to figure out why the signs say they will start cleaning at 9:17, but I think it was a typo. I think it's 8:17 when the sign was posted, but 9/8/2022 is when everything will be clear. Everybody that's down there has 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I just want to give an update that everybody down there that's in encampments have, they have 30-minute window before they start clearing out to gather whatever material each individual wants to store in a storage or take to their respective area. They will give them a 30-minute grace period, but after that, they will continue to clean that area up for businesses and residents just so they can, live a little bit better in that area. That's the update that I have from the mayor's office. Anything else you guys may need, feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you. And yes, we're in a very short time. You've taken on a lot of tasks and doing a great job. Thank you for your service and look forward to continuing to work with you.
I appreciate
that. There was a question, and I have a similar question about the encampment. Are there services being offered to our unhoused neighbors who are living at the encampment instead of just like pushing them around?
So from my understanding, the last update I have from Jamal was a lot of people did not want services that were down there. They had 2 people from my notes that I see that actually were engaging and wanted to kind of figure out resources. Jamal is doing their best with DHS to kind of figure out services and vouchers for those residents. But at the same time, Jamal was letting me know that it was tough navigating that area simply because it's It's a heavy drug area. It's a heavy everything area, and he's having a hard time navigating what people are down there for. Are they down there because they don't have anywhere to go? Or are they down there because they want to, make a turn of profit by selling drugs and doing things of that nature? So for right now, Jamal has told me that we have a couple people that are in process of getting some help with vouchers and housing. Outside of that, he hasn't been really getting a lot of people or support that want his services. So for right now, if any commissioner has any resident that's down there that they know for a fact wants services, feel free to reach out and give me that resident's information, and I'll do my best to get them in contact with the services they need. But for right now, until I get a further update from what DMHHS is doing, right now they have 2 members that they are assisting with housing. Outside of that, everything else will be cleaned up and, trying to turn a leaf to a new page. And I'm sorry for my wordage, but right now I just think that everybody is trying to find a solution for the 600 block of T Street. But, right now we have to figure out how to clean it up and help the people that want help at this point. So if anybody has anything information wise with, or I can help any residents down there, feel free to reach out to me. But as of, yesterday, my update was by the 8th of September. Say again? Say again?
I think that was just feedback. Thank you. I know, so this is my SMD, DBH and DHS and a bunch of other folks have been really involved in this cleanup. We don't see a lot of cleanups in 1B because so this is going to be new for, I think, a lot of us, and looking forward to working with you to make sure that the encampment cleanup protocol is followed and services are provided, and everyone's safety is front and center. So thank you.
Let's take the last question real quick and let him get back to service taking care of the mayor.
I just wanted to clarify that it's not as simple as offering people vouchers. That all the vouchers that were approved by the council are kind of held up in limbo. It's not like there's just vouchers sitting around that you can hand to someone. That's just not how it actually is, and I don't want people listening to think that that's how it is.
No, correct.
And then can you confirm, will DBH be on site and various partners be on site offering services when the encampment is happening? Is that per the protocol? Is it going to be followed?
I will reach back out to you, but for right now, I believe DHS, DBH, and DMHHS will be on site when the cleanup is happening. From there, I'm not sure if any of the residents down there might want services. I believe that it will be a tough situation. We'll have MPD on site as well. It's going to be a tough day because I feel like a lot of people have been, that they're living under whatever they're living under, and now it's going to change come the 8th. So again, I'm here to support and help any resident or business owner or anybody in the ward. I welcome that information so I can help. But for right now, anytime I go down there, I'm finding a lot of residents or just people that are experiencing homelessness that, I don't know if it's because of my suit and my tie, but they don't want me involved in whatever's going on. But all I want to do is assist and help. So at this point, I think what's going on might be helpful. But again, it's still initiatives that are being made right now. None of these things are set in stone. They're initiatives. They're trying to see if this will work. So, I'm available at any time for anybody that's on the call that may need, my insight or any information that I can help out with.
Thanks.
Thank you.
No problem.
Commissioner announcements. Commissioner Harris.
Yes. So surprisingly, we did not have an update on 1250 U Street for ZPD. But as you all know, we are starting kind of the negotiations for the benefits portion of the PUD. So East Bank did file their application on August 19th. And then the earliest that they can potentially get a set down hearing is in 35 days. So we will be hosting, or I will be hosting 3 community meetings to talk about kind of the potential benefits. And that can be really anything. That doesn't mean we get anything and everything. But the first meeting will be on Saturday, September 10th at 11:30 a.m. And I will be posting all of this on anc1b.org and then sharing it out. And we will be having 3 meetings in September. That's not going to be limited to just 3 meetings. I just want to make sure we get in before kind of the 35-day mark and kind of see where things are at before we commit to other ones. The next 2 are on September 15th and September 27th. The first on the 15th at 6:30 and then the second at 7 p.m. These will be virtual. If there is, a huge kind of showing or want for in person, we can talk about that, but I just want to make it pretty accessible to as many people as possible. But this is your chance. I remember Commissioner Ewert mentioned at the last commission meeting that DC is pretty unique, that we have what's called planned unit developments that give the community kind of the chance to negotiate for benefits in exchange for zoning relief. So really encourage everyone in 1B to attend. There might be limitations on the benefits depending on kind of the vicinity, but please get involved. I will continue sharing it out. And would love to hear kind of more ideas on potential benefits of kind of the site.
Thank you. Commissioners, other announcements?
This isn't new business, right?
No. Any other questions, any comments? Okay. Community comments, if you could check the, I think I saw something about bike lanes earlier.
There are any community members who would like to make an announcement, please raise your hand and I can take you off of mute. It doesn't, oh. Okay. Okay.
I think the chair may have been referring to my comment, which was that if folks missed it, DDOT today extended the comment deadline on the Georgia Avenue bus plan. So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that and comment on the potential extension of the bus lanes from Berry Avenue north to Kansas Avenue in Petworth, you now have another 10 days. The deadline is now September 11th. And you can go to buspriority.ddot.dc.gov for that information and to see it and to make any comments you might have.
Thank you for adding that. Yeah, I sent out a letter with a handful of commissioners who signed with some comments on the Georgia Avenue bus lane, and I'll be recirculating that given the extended amount of time that we have. So I appreciate it, and want to lend their comment to DDOT, I'll share the link to do so.
Any other community comments?
I'm not seeing any other hands raised besides Commissioner Kinsick's hand.
Okay. Let's go to new business. Commissioner Bana, public trash and recycle.
Okay, so sorry again to folks that this is was short notice that I got to you all. So basically this stems from in my SMD right on the border of Commissioner Floyd's SMD at 13th and Clifton, there is a public trash can that is often the site of people dumping their furniture or their tires or their cinder blocks. It's kind of been a known spot. I've flagged it to DPW to pick up the various things. But recently, I received an email from DPW saying, thanks so much for flagging that. We're going to take away the trash can. And they removed the trash can within like 2 business days, which is way quicker than actually coming and picking up the stuff that is legally dumped. And, whereas many things in the city take layers of approvals and input and great wait from the ANC, this was just removed essentially overnight without me getting a chance to respond. And essentially over my objections. So I feel it's bad policy. I feel that the city shouldn't just be removing trash cans for no reason when someone uses the trash can. And it's overall a policy failure that the city only picks up bulk trash from essentially single family homes or buildings under 4 units, essentially 3 units or under. So if you have an absentee landlord and you don't have a car, you're not taking your thing to Fort Totten transfer station. Chances are you are finding something to do with it. And so people have put it near a trash can, which is a problem, but we would think that rather than taking it away, DDOT could come up with some sort of solution, whether it's literature, whether it's enforcement. So I put together a letter, a resolution that I sent around. It's based heavily on a resolution written by Commissioner Aaron Palmer from ANC 4B. I will credit her with a lot of the language. I've tailored it to 1B. Their letter was more focused on trash cans overflowing and not being picked up, kind of an issue that we saw during the pandemic. I've tweaked it to focus more on this shadow policy of removing trash cans with no warning and no reason, because as I've poked around, this is happening across the district, and I think we should not be quiet on it. And so I apologize that I didn't get time to circulate it and get a lot more input, but I want to hear from Patrick, and then I do want to move it with any technical corrections that may be necessary. And if anyone has suggestions of things that they want added to it tonight, we can make that part of the motion as well. Go ahead, Patrick.
Eric, I just want to congratulate you for taking this on, because I've been dealing with this issue myself, and I see that there's a member of the community that's put in the same comment that I'm going to make. They took away 3 garbage cans on Georgia Avenue, purely along the same lines as what you did. They just did it within the last, I want to say the last 2 weeks. And now there's just bags of trash that are just sitting there, piling up and piling up. And it's another one of those things for me that, you live in the city and you expect the city to pick up trash, and their answer for having people putting trash in a garbage can because they don't want yard trash put in there is to remove the garbage can. Well, that doesn't solve the problem. It just exasperates it and makes it worse. So now all the trash that is in bags and getting ripped open by rats and God only knows what else gets blowing down my street because they think that moving the garbage can is going to solve the problem. It's reverse psychology that's not working. Somebody downtown has got the screws in crooked and they need to take it out and put it in right.
Yeah. Thanks, Patrick. I totally agree. And there's been instances where bags of trash are legally dumped right next to the public trash can. DPW comes, empties the public trash can, but leaves the illegally dumped items right next to it. And so what this letter does, it asks about data about how many and where they're being removed or relocated. What is this policy or procedure? Because I don't see it written down anywhere. So that all is in the letter.
Eric, I'll also add too, just, and I'll stop because this is the people that want to talk, but also, and I don't know if you want to put this in the letter, but I also just got a complaint from a next door neighbor who had a confrontation with DPW picking up their trash in the alley, where they literally went through his garbage can, pulled out the trash that was trash, and left all the bags of doggy poop in his can and told him, "We don't pick up doggy poop," which is a new one on me. I've never heard of that before. So
that's wild.
that's just even more bizarre than I've ever heard. But he sent a letter to DPW, which he CC'd me on, and he's supposed to be getting response back. But that's taking it even a step further than just not. I've never heard of that. I mean, it's just absurd.
I see there are two more comments. Let's have it to the letter and drafts and changes to the letter.
Yeah, happy to. So this happened on my street as well at 15th and Fuller. It's annoying. And we also have more trash on our streets now. Fun. Santiago and I actually kind of batted around the idea of doing this at one of the ANC meetings, just because trash cans are typically in public space, or sorry, transportation committee meetings. But I'm really happy that you took the initiative to do this on your own, Eric. I'm 100% on board. There's some language in the current like guidelines that states that like the specific locations where they will put new trash cans, and I think it would be worthwhile to take a look at that as well. I'm happy to do that with you as part of technical edit, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because it is very limiting where these trash cans can be, and a lot of the existing ones do not abide by the current guidelines. And so changing the guidelines to grandfather these in or add more in residential areas is also really important. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep an eye out for that language. I definitely want that technical correction. That would be helpful.
Yeah, +1 on those guidelines, because on B Street, there were several trash cans taken away a couple years ago. And I think to touch on something that I think could be really valuable is, so when I went to pull the data on one where all of these trash cans exist in DC, it's severely outdated. So, and then even looking at, there were other requests just on like open data DC, but if there's some sort of language in the resolution and in the letter for them to update it, because apparently they're supposed to use this data to inform where they collect, when they collect. But if the data is not accurate, then clearly, I mean, everything else is lacking. So if there's something that can be included in there, I think that could be helpful too.
Thank you. I will definitely include that technical amendment as well. I will also just note that I have notified the Mokers and the Ward 1 council members office about this. So trying to attack it from all fronts. Also, apparently DPW is paying attention to Twitter because their information officer emailed me about my tweets about this. So they are hopefully paying attention, and hopefully the letter will resonate with them. So I know we're getting to Chair Turner's bedtime, so I want to make the motion. So I will move that we approve the resolution with any technical amendments that may be necessary.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion passes.
Thank you all. And Chair Turner, you know I love you. I only kid.
We did have, I'm not sure if this is just, we do have a hand raised in the community. Jay, did you have another comment? I'm gonna take that as a no.
Okay, second item under new business is a resolution And sorry that you do not have a draft, but let me cover it. We all are experiencing issues with package thefts in our neighborhoods and communities. There are some things that we can do and advise. They're not technically enforceable, but they do provide some guidance and help, I believe, for residents to encourage them to update delivery information on their packages to leave them out of sight. There is a notes field under most major delivery companies that allow for that. To also, when they have cameras, to make sure that the cameras are in an area that can pick up a package thief in some way. If it's on the top of your building, it's probably not going to pick up any image that's useful. But where your packages are delivered, if they're to your home, and you have a camera, that it be able to help in identifying individuals. For the delivery companies, we encourage them to, when they're delivering, to not throw it at the front door, but if there is a way of delivering out of street view, to do so, just as a courtesy. And it also helps them when people file missing package complaints, and they have to pay for those. For MPD, the assistant chief who handles technology is looking for ways to help with various thefts and throughout the district. And one of them is how to identify and help curb the package theft. So it is to offer assistance to them and recommendations of working with them to have community forums and talk to community members who are experiencing this. With your approval, I would move that we have this resolution, and we, Commissioner Farnan and I will finish drafting it, and we will send it to the district and also to the major delivery companies. Is there a second? We have a second. Discussion?
Sorry, I just am a little unclear about the intent of the resolution. I'm also a little uncomfortable with signing my name to something about expanding security cameras and ring doorbells and things like that.
We have a camera program today, and it is if you get a Ring camera.
I second that and let him discuss.
Thank you. That we, it's not to add security and start capturing, but if you are experiencing theft on your property, of package thefts, that cameras that are on your property, that capture on your property, perhaps that those are positioned in a way that are helpful in identifying recurring events. There is no teeth, but it is more symbolic, and it does offer some advice, particularly to residents, to update.
And the main point that I understand from Chair Turner for this resolution is that we would be able to solicit support from council members in speaking with delivery drivers or folks who we see delivering packages to specifically single family homes where there is an opportunity to put a package out of view, either like between the door or on the side. This resolution is basically asking that they do that instead of placing the package on the step. So no change or increase in security, Commissioner Reyna, just educating neighbors, but then also having the ability to send something to delivery companies in DC.
It just seems like it's out of the scope of what we as the ANC do. Like, I mean,
I get a lot of these complaints.
I concur with that.
I don't know. I guess maybe I represent a lot of apartment buildings, and I've not gotten, I don't think, a single package porch pirate complaint. But I don't know. I guess I
don't know that you have the same issue in apartment buildings,
right.
but you do in the neighborhoods. We have it in Pleasant Plains, and we have it in Columbia Heights in the single family home
I'm
areas.
happy to, Chair Turner, if you're amenable, allow for edits 3 days
Okay.
after final drafting for commissioners to provide edits and comments.
That's fine.
And
It's
of
a
course-
huge issue in LaJoy Park, I would just say. I
Yeah.
do think it has a lot to do with the type of housing stuff.
And this might just
Yeah.
open the conversation, you know, this isn't
Yeah.
going to mitigate, but it could open the conversation with council.
All right, let's vote. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions. Motion passes. Are there any other items? With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.